Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to this Respect Town Hall. It is mainly for staff, but I dare say we might have some students attending as well, and we plan to do another one in October, mainly for students, when most of them will be back on campus. As you can see there, we're going to look at findings, recommendations, implementation, and governance. And there will be three of us leading a short presentation. So myself, Stuart Corbridge, VC, Rachel Archbold, who I think most people will know, head of EDI. Rachel also was a member of the Durham University Commission on Respect, Values and Behaviour, and Fiona Ellis, who was the independent chair of the Respect Commission. You'll be meeting Fiona soon. If you've not met Fiona, a long and distinguished career in the third sector, long service for the university as a governor, that is, as a member of council, and our lead for this very important piece of work. And I'm delighted to welcome Fiona because all the public presentations that we've had at the Respect Commission to the Executive, Senate and Council have been attended by Fiona. I'm really grateful to Fiona for giving up the time. We're also joined by Simon Hackett, who himself was a member of the Commission, the Vice Chair, and will be explaining Simon's role moving forwards later on. So one of the purposes of this session is just to run through the major findings of the Respect Commission report, not in detail. Everybody should have had a copy of the report made available to them in July, and I really hope you've had a chance to read it through thoroughly, think about it, digest it, and have some questions arising from it. I did do a short video as well at that time to let you know a little bit about the history of the Respect Commission. We'll pick up the progress on the recommendations, the 20 major recommendations coming out of the report, how we intend, in broad terms, to fund these initiatives moving forwards, and then the role of the Respect Oversight Group. What I would like to say is that both for my boss, who's Joe Doherty, the chair of council, and myself, and for the entire council, I believe for the entirety of Senate as well and the executive, this is an absolute top priority for all of us this year. We don't just see it as a one-year project. It's not just about enacting the 20 recommendations of the Respect Commission report, although we will do within the year. It is about creating an ever more inclusive and respectful environment for all of us at the university, staff and students alike, and in the communities within which we sit. So really, this is probably a good time to start handing over. Just to remind you, though, the Durham University Commission on Respect, Values and Behaviour goes back a couple of years now. It actually originated at a meeting of the council that Fiona attended in July 2018. And the then chair of the University Council, Robert Gillespie, responding to some student concerns, said that good organisations own problems, face up to problems and work problems through. And that's the essential mission and ethos of all of the work that we're doing around respect at the university. It led to the commission being set up. I was given the task by councillors setting up the commission. I made sure that no member of the executive was on the commission, and the charge to Fiona and Simon and others was a charge of discovery, to find out what was happening in terms of people's experiences of working and studying at the university. The report came in just before Christmas last year. It went to the executive, to Senate and to council in Epiphany term this year, and should have been published at the end of that term. But of course, as we know, that's when we were dealing with the pandemic. So we delayed the publication externally, although many people had seen the report, until July 2020. What I do want to say, lastly, before handing over, is that Fiona has said on all three occasions that I've seen her speak to the report that the 20 recommendations coming out of the Respect Commission report are just a start. We will enact all of those 20 recommendations, but that's not enough. It really is now a process of dialogue, constructive engagement over 3 years. I want it in every research institute, every professional service division, every college, obviously in the executive, and in all academic departments. I want people to work through the report and figure out yourselves how we want to move forward to a more inclusive and respectful environment. What do we need to do in addition to those 20 recommendations?
Thank you, Stuart. Just reflecting on and echoing on Stuart's previous words, the Respect Commission was set up in October 2018, and the purpose was to understand people's experiences of working and studying at Durham University and to identify what can be done to create positive change, with the final report setting out 20 recommendations for improvement. Since then, work has been ongoing across the university to put the foundations in place to take forward these recommendations. There's still much more to do, as Stuart outlined, and our approach will be a continuous process of reflection as review as we move forward. So today, I just wanted to share with you some of the actions that have been taken to date. It's a very brief overview, but we can talk later in the questions and answers. The first of those is around our values. Last year, Durham University launched a new set of brand values: inspiring, innovative, enabling, challenging and responsible. It's always been acknowledged that respect feeds through all of our values, but following on from the Commission's recommendations, respect will now be reflected as one of our core values, helping us to ensure that all of the university's values are embedded fully into university life as a standard to which all members are held to account. With induction, our staff induction events have been revisited and built upon to highlight our values, and that we seek to foster a culture of respect and inclusivity across our university to create a welcoming, safe and inclusive environment for everyone. Ownership for the delivery of the recommendations sit within the executive, who will play a leading part in bringing about cultural change. This is reflected within the fact that our staff groups are now being engaged more, and within induction we are showcasing some of the opportunities for staff voices and support with involvement within the MAMS network, within the Women at DU network, LGBT and networks across the university. With Report and Support, which was launched in October 2019, we presented a centralised platform to report unwanted behaviour. This online resource currently brings together a central hub for reporting routes, relevant policies, training packages, and provides further guidance and support, both to internal support mechanisms and outside organisations. Publication materials have been developed, with a user guide video being published, and postcards on how to report incidents are now included with all student induction packages. Digital posters are also being distributed across the university through internal and external communication channels. Our next step, which is a major step, is to review reporting pathways to develop whole system responses to support reporting and ensure appropriate support. With our respect statements, over the last year, a number of statements and pledges have been introduced which set out expectations on behaviours for both members of our own communities and visitors to the university. The student pledge asks new students to agree to be good citizens, treating others with respect and promoting inclusion. The respect and inclusivity statement has been piloted for visiting speakers. This sets out Durham's commitment to providing an inclusive environment for its community, free from fear of prejudice, bullying and harassment, recognising our duty to protect freedom of expression, explore challenging topics and debates, and facilitate exchange of ideas while maintaining a fundamental respect for the rights of others. As we move forward, our plan is to review these respect statements and create one overarching respect statement that sets out our university values and expectations around values that will link in to all of these processes and the regulations of enforcement and expectation to meet those standards. I just wanted to talk a little about the sub-fund that we are setting up. There's been a lot of requests and interest in engaging with quality, diversity and inclusion, with many people having lots of ideas and wanting to take those across student and staff bodies. And we've looked now at setting up a fund to support this so that we can have that continued engagement and buy-in across the university. So research has now been undertaken to look at areas of best practice across the higher education sector in terms of the offer of funding available to staff and students that will enable EDI initiative and activities related to university life move forward. We're looking at types of funding comparable to other institutions, total funding amounts and the funding totals offered to applications, assessment of funding usage and the process. Also terms and conditions, so that we ensure that we can use this funding to deliver clear and visible outcomes as we move forward.
I'm Fiona Ellis, so now you can see the face behind the voice and the report chairing. I'm really excited that the university has decided to set up this oversight group because, and also that they've let me be part of it, because originally I thought my work was done once I'd handed over the report as chair of the commission. But in fact, what's happening now is that Simon Hackett is going to chair the oversight group, and I'm allowed to stay on as his deputy, which is brilliant. Simon wasn't sure if he was going to be here today, so I've taken on the role of speaking to you about these couple of slides. First thing to say is that I really was pleased to see Rachel talking about some of the recommendations that are already in train. But as we cannot emphasize enough, those 20 recommendations are only part of the whole picture. They're only part of the work. And to some degree, and individuals may disagree, but to some degree, they're the easy part. The hard part is that big culture change that is the responsibility of everyone involved in the university. Council has taken on that responsibility, and I hope that everybody else will too. What it means is that everybody has to analyze their behavior. Everybody has to analyze the things that they do, the things that they think and how they behave with others, and be honest about it and think about whether or not they need to change. Now, the practical things, the practical work, like in the 20 recommendations, will be done by the university. They will be done by departments, they will be done by student groups, they will be done by all the sort of structure of the university. But I'm sure that you would rightly want to see some accountability. And that's what the oversight group is going to provide. It's going to provide accountability and reflection. So the oversight group will be able to look at how the recommendations and the implicit recommendations are being delivered. It will ask questions, it will test, it will ask for evidence. It will say, that's brilliant that you've done recommendation number whatever it is, but is it enough? Should we be thinking, is there something more to be done? So that's going to be the role of the oversight group. And I think it's a really interesting group. It will also report back. It will report to the university. It will hold UEP to account as far as council is concerned. University Council really wants to be involved and really wants to understand what is happening. So we've set ourselves up, or we will be setting ourselves up rather, for 3 years. That seems like a sensible amount of time to get an awful lot of stuff done. But of course, creating Respectful University is never a never-ending task. This will go on as new cohorts of students come in, as new staff come in. We hope by the end of 3 years, there'll be such a wonderfully nurturing and respectful community that anyone arriving will pick that up and behave like that. The oversight group will be able to establish a kind of report card on that after about 3 years. Okay, so it's going to have about 15 members. It's going to try to reflect the whole spectrum of the university and its membership. And we're very, very keen not to have people who always serve on the committees, otherwise known as the usual suspects. We would like to see as many good, open, interesting voices as possible. There'll have to be voices, but there'll also have to be ears. People who want to join this group will need to be good listeners, and they'll need to be reflective. They need to come not with an agenda, but with an open mind, because that's the best way we're going to get through this work together and be able to achieve what we want to achieve. It won't be a hugely onerous task. It'll meet 4 times a year. It will have a chair and a deputy chair, that's Simon and myself. And as you can see, it will have key staff and student groups. We'd like to bring in a couple of members from the original commission because they have the ethos of the whole task in their bones now. How we're going to establish this group. As I said, it's not going to be the usual suspects, and that makes it slightly more difficult, or at least a little bit more laborious, but also potentially a great deal more interesting. What we're looking for is, and there will be proper information about this on the website, but we're looking for people who will nominate themselves or who will be nominated by groups or departments or any other groupings that make sense in the university. And then we'll sift through those so that we make sure that we have that beautiful reflection of the spectrum of the university itself. Some people will fulfill many aspects in one application, and some people will be there because they have something very particular to offer. We're going to try and get that all done during the course of October and establish the membership in November so that it can get to work in December. In December, it'll probably have one of those meetings where we look at our task, make our plans, reflect on whatever has been done so far, and work out how we're going to assemble evidence as we go along. But it's going to be really interesting, and I would encourage you to keep your eyes on the Respect website so that you can decide whether or not you'd like to nominate yourself or get other groups to, or other people to nominate you so that you can join us.
Just reflecting on Stuart and Fiona's earlier comment, we are still having these conversations. The next Respect Town Hall for students is due to take place on Thursday, the 15th of October, and we expect to have continuing dialogue through our email and committee and group structures, forums that we're engaging with people of interest and identity as we move forward. I just wanted to highlight that we have race equality plan consultations coming up on Tuesday the 29th of September and Thursday the 29th of October. For those who are not familiar with it, the Race Equality Charter is something that we signed up to in 2019 as our commitment for advancing race equality throughout the university. The Charter aims to challenge racial inequalities in higher education and asks us to look at how we make progress through improving the representation, progression and success of minority ethnic staff and students. The development of the action plan will offer a clear framework to enable us to build on our work around this area and complement the university's internationalisation strategy, and hopefully improve our experience for both staff and students across the board. What I'd like to say is that we're at the beginning of the conversation to develop this action plan. It's informed by evidence from focus groups, surveys, engagement with groups. So we'd invite you to join us in that conversation to help set that foundation on which to move this work forward. I'd also like to highlight that there is training available on Duo for all staff, which is quite comprehensive. It looks at challenging behaviours, it looks at EDI in general, unconscious bias, how to support disclosures, and respecting others. This is a course of tools which will enable you to look at how you then view your contribution to help us embed a culture of respect in the university as we move forward. And we would suggest that if you can, to access these training tools and learn from those where you can and bring those to the attentions of others around you.